following our advice. We never advise anybody to apply early decision. It
Unless
seems
they
like,
guarantee a full ride. And
right,
even then, I'd be a little hesitant.
right. Certain early decision programs are binding and come with a scholarship. Other early decision programs are binding and they know that they don't have to give you a scholarship. And it's just an awful idea. I don't know why anyone would do this. It makes no sense. Unless this is your dream school and you're a multi-millionaire who just doesn't give any shit about how much law school costs.
Yeah.
Uh, I hadn't gotten around to withdrawing all of my other applications and recently heard I was waitlisted/held at Washington and Lee and also was awarded a hefty scholarship at University of Miami. My stats are 3.29 GPA and a 161 LSAT, so I'm pretty happy with these outcomes. Is there any point in my even considering these other opportunities? Could I even get out of an ED seat deposit? I would appreciate any advice. Of course, feel free to read my question on the show. A. Well, step one, Ben, I guess we don't know whether this is a binding program or not a binding program.
Yeah, so you got to figure out whether it's binding or non-binding. If it's non-binding, then yes, you can get out of it. If it's binding, I wouldn't say that this story ends there. I would read what you agreed to. This is your opportunity to be your own lawyer. Figure
Yeah,
out what you
problem.
agreed to.
Sure. Step one, figure out what you agreed to. Step two, can they actually enforce that against you? Right. That was a lesson that I learned in my 1L year,
Mm-hmm.
that contracts are only good so far as they are enforceable.
Yeah.
And it might be the case that you have agreed to something that the school would have no recourse to actually enforce against you if you chose to break it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that said, we are not lawyers and you are not a lawyer, and only a lawyer is going to be able to actually tell you whether you can break this or not. You could go it alone, like go rogue and just walk away from withdraw from that school and go to school somewhere else. But man, if they found out, I don't know. I It's bad times. I'll tell the story. I've probably told this story 10 times on the show, but I remember when I had a student who applied early decision to Hastings for some goddamn reason, also applied to Berkeley, a vastly better school, got in, of course, to Hastings, binding early decision, then got into Berkeley. My advice at the time was to call Hastings and to say, hey, I know I applied early decision and I'm really sorry, but I've gotten into Berkeley and I was really hoping that you would let me out of this commitment that I made. Hastings reacted as if it was a slap in the face. They couldn't believe it. Their response was, are you really going to start? You made a commitment to us, and in exchange for your commitment to, we evaluated your application early, and is this really going to be the way that you start your legal career? And which that was like so insulting when I read that. But they actually, they actually were like gonna call
Yeah, it was cool.
Berkeley across the
Yeah.
bay and say, hey, this student applied early decision binding. And they actually forced that student to go to Hastings instead of go to Berkeley. And I don't know if that's the situation that A has gotten themselves into or not, but I'm very worried that that is the situation.
Yeah. Hey, you were telling us about you got waitlisted and held at Washington and Lee. You also got a hefty scholarship. I don't know what you mean by hefty, but you got a scholarship at the University of Miami. I was just looking at our scholarship estimator. That's lsatdemon.com/scholarships. I put in your numbers 3.29 and a 161. And when you look at Washington and Lee, it says less you're likely to get. Well, this estimator says that there are people in your situation who have gotten less than half tuition. So I'm glad that you got waitlisted at Washington and Lee, but there are other people who are with your same numbers getting scholarships at Washington and Lee. So anyway, I think the word of warning here for anyone who's listening to this is don't apply early decision. Instead, go to the estimator and start to get a sense of what you're worth and have higher expectations for these schools.
Early decision might be fine if it's not binding. Early decision might be fine if it comes with a scholarship. Most of these programs, though, are scams in order to get you to try to pay full price at their law school. You know, they get you to,
Yep.
because I mean, think about what the consideration is, Ben. They're going to evaluate your application early. Wow. In
Oh,
exchange
gee.
for that
Wow.
valuable, in exchange for that valuable consideration, you are now committed to go to their school if they admit you. And once you're committed like that, then they have no incentive to give you a scholarship. And so these programs are just shameful scams. And I'm sorry, if that's what you fell for. I don't think the seat deposit really does anything, right? The
Oh,
seat deposit is just like you're starting to pay money. Um, A is really not going to like my next bit of advice, but my next bit of advice is if they won't let you out of this deal and they're going to charge you full price, there is one way out of the deal, which is you wait another cycle to go to law school. Walk away
yeah.
from whatever this school is that's ranked in the low 40s. By the way, if it's ranked in the low 40s, it's not anything special. Walk away from that school. Also walk away from Washington and Lee. Also walk away from University of Miami and try again next cycle. September 1st will be here before you know it. This time next year, you will have another batch of offers. You'll have a year to think about what you've done. I'm just kidding. You know, it sucks. I'm sure A does not want to hear that advice, but for $250,000 or whatever that you're going to end up borrowing to go to some school ranked in the low 40s, I would 10 times out of 10, I would walk away from all of those offers. You know, you'll get the same scholarship offers next year. You might even get better scholarship offers next year if you apply with potentially a couple points higher on the LSAT, maybe. But this is going to be a tragedy if they end up paying full price to go to this school.
Also, I mean, while you're talking, I was just thinking, is 161A your best score that you
Right.
could get? I mean, seriously, spend 2 months, bump it up to a 165, a mere 4 points. You're now not talking about a hefty scholarship at the University of Miami. You're talking about a full scholarship.
Right.
I don't know. To me, you're trading one pill for another. Do you want to study the LSAT a little bit longer, or do you want to have a mountain of student loans?
Yeah. The LSAT is not a perfect predictor of your success in law school, but it is a predictor of your success in law school. It's not a perfect predictor of your success in legal practice, but it is a predictor of your success in legal practice. If 161 is the best LSAT score you can achieve, that doesn't bode super well for your success in law school, and it doesn't bode super well for your success in legal practice. So, you know, if that really is the very best you can get, I for sure would not pay for law school. Oh my God. Like the odds of you being unsuccessful in law school or being unsuccessful in legal practice are pretty high if you maxed out at 161. I mean, it's high for everybody, no matter what your LSAT score is. There's
Yeah.
a very high attrition rate in law school. There's a very high attrition rate in legal practice. That's why we
Yes.
yell every
Yes, for
single
sure. People don't think
episode
about it.
about not paying for law school. Just, you know,
Yeah.
it's like such a risky, people do not understand the risk they're taking by borrowing all
Yeah.
that money. It's a gigantic risk. Don't do it. If you can go to school for free with a 161, great. whatever. I still say though, prep a little harder for the LSAT, give it another couple of months, take it again, get a 165, or something higher. Go to a better school for free. Just, even if this is a binding program, I really definitely think A should take another year and walk away from it.
Yeah.
That's not legal advice, by the way. I'm not 100% sure that you can do that. I imagine you can though, right? They can't own you forever because of this one early decision.
Well, it
You're not,
also goes, I don't know, but it goes back to enforceability. You're going to send someone an invoice for a law school that they're not attending. The
yeah.
biggest leverage that they have is that they go after you and prevent you from going to other schools. Cause like you said, they call up the other schools and say, look, are you going to accept this person who walked away from
Who's in breach of contract with us?
with us? Yeah.
Right.
And they may not, the other school may not care about the school that's calling them, but they care about being treated the same way when the tables are turned. So they're going to probably help their own.
Yeah. In my Hastings versus Berkeley example earlier, as I recall, Berkeley was just immediately like, oh yeah, we're not, sorry. Like, we can't take you because you
Yeah.
signed this other thing with Hastings.
Yep. Yep.
So these schools are far apart from each other. There's some chance that they might not even find out, but there's a significant chance that they could find out. And man, would it be a disaster for you to like move to Miami, start law school, and then somehow during your first semester, like your school comes to you and goes, we got some bad news. We have to kick you out of school because you signed a binding early decision with this other school.
Yeah.
It's just a disaster.
But
God
look,
damn it.
all this goes back to what your agreement says. Regardless, though, if you can walk away this year from everything, I would seriously consider that. And good luck.
It's only 1 year. The next year will be here before you know it. It's no shame in doing it, and it's almost always better to just wait and get a better deal. There's no reason to rush into law school ever, really. If if you were gonna become a lawyer in 2025 or 20 whatever, okay, well, you're going to become a lawyer in 2026 instead. Who cares? What difference does it make?
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that?
No.